Thank you so much. All right, so tonight, leading people planning for growth, that's our topic. Our agenda, we just had very quick welcome. And I'm going to do for the first hour, we're going to talk about, we're going to give the information, just kind of level set, make sure we're all on the same page. Then we'll have a great panel. They should be here right around 7 p.m. for the second hour. Then, of course, in our third hour, we will have time for us to talk about greatest challenges and share resources. Pretty excited about this. This is one of my, I always say this, is one of my favorite things to talk about, but this topic usually makes people think about where they want to, how they want to end up with their business. And so let's start off here with different business models. Now, I know most of you have more than one person, but I want you to just understand these concepts as you grow, just some things to consider. So first, let me explain what this somewhat complicated diagram is supposed to represent. So this horizontal red line that runs across, that's the day-to-day. The vertical red lines, that breaks up the scenarios. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scenarios. The circles are people. So you see some circles have more blue than others. That blue represents business expenses. The green represents profit made from that person's efforts. Okay, so if you see some people and they are all blue, that means that their work is not creating a lot of revenue. You see some people who have green, that means that they're working efficiently enough to actually create revenue. Excuse me, let me say it again. If you see they're all blue, that means that their work really just covers business expenses. If you see green, that is profit, okay? That means that they're working efficiently enough to actually create profit for the business. Let me explain. So scenario 1 right here, this is you. This is you, and let's say this business is a cupcake business. One of my favorite things to talk about is a cupcake business, and you make cupcakes, and you make amazing cupcakes. They're absolutely delicious. But it's just you. And you're making cupcakes all day. Probably working maybe 12, 16 hours a day. You're not only making the cupcakes, when people come to your shop, you're on the register. When there's an issue with the website, you're handling that. You're posting on social media. You're doing your own account. You are doing your own accounts receivable and payable. You're doing everything. And your price, you're probably, let's say these are cupcakes. So maybe you're charging $3.49 a cupcake. You haven't been to this class yet. And so you realize that, oh, well, $3.49, that's enough for me to buy ingredients and have enough money left over to make cupcakes tomorrow. Problem is, you don't really have any money in the bank, because all your money keeps going into making cupcakes for tomorrow, and you can't take off work because then you won't have enough money to pay your bills. You can't get sick. And if you stay on this trajectory, you'll be making cupcakes for the rest of your life. Just you by yourself. And that's okay if that's what you choose to do. It's your business, it's your choice. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, you've been to the class and you say, hey, you know what? My pricing was too low. I wasn't valuing my cupcakes at a high enough price. And I'm not afraid to charge more. So instead of charging $3.49 a cupcake, I'm going to charge $3.59 a cupcake. And based on the numbers, you did your cash flow projections, and you know what? You make a little bit of money. But it's still just you, because you're not charging enough to actually hire anybody else. It's just you. So you're still working 12 to 16 hours a day. You're still handling all the responsibilities in the business, but you have a little money in the bank, but no time to spend it. Scenario 3, as you can see here, you've got a team now. You raised your price. You went from $3.49 to $3.59. Now it's $3.79. You bumped it up a little bit more. You got past the fear that nobody will pay the increased price. You understood that, wait a second, prices keep going up every single year. I need to adjust my price. And you raise your prices enough so that now at $3.79 a cupcake, you can hire people. They work efficiently enough, and you have processes in place and standard operating procedures in place where they work efficiently enough that they actually generate profit from their work. And you're still working, but maybe you're not working 16 hours a day. Maybe you're working 12 hours a day, but you're not as involved in the day-to-day. Maybe even go home at a relatively reasonable time every night. And you've got profit, you've got money in the bank. Scenario 4, as you can see here, you're further out of the day-to-day, still in a little bit. You still on occasion, you'll make a cupcake here and there when someone doesn't show up, but you're charging $3.89 a cupcake, and you have a team of 4, and they're making it happen. And you're getting profit off each and every one of the people who work for you, because you realize that they are supposed to make profit in everything that they do. And every cupcake should have profit baked into it, not just delicious ingredients. Scenario 5, look at you, you're totally out of the day-to-day. And your team is working efficiently. And now you're charging $3.99 a cupcake. Your team is working efficiently. And you can see one person here, most of them are green and blues. They're all making profit for you. And that money goes, see, you don't have to work because you have the team working, and the profit that they make covers your expenses. And it gives you money left over. This person right here that's mostly blue, what does that mean? Are they not working efficiently? No, it doesn't mean that at all. They're doing admin. They're the ones now, they're doing the accounts receivable and accounts payable. They're doing your scheduling. They're responding to emails. They're posting on social media for you. They're doing all those administrative things that you need to have done. They're helping you write SOPs, standard operating procedures. They're helping you refine some of your processes. They're dealing with the website issues. And guess what you're doing? You're free. Free. You pay money, so other people will work with you or for you, however you want to say it, so you can be free. That exchange of money for their time gives you time to be free. And what you do with it is up to you. Maybe you are traveling, maybe you're going somewhere else, or maybe you're thinking about how can I make some more money? Because the thing is, that's the important part. If you don't use this time that you have, now that your team is working efficiently and you're making money, you have a profitable business. If you don't use this time to think about ways to make more money, you're going to stagnate. You're not going to grow. And sadly, because the price of everything keeps going up, you eventually will start to lose money if you just stay the same. So this freedom that you have, it can't just be all trips to the Maldives or you're sleeping in every day or whatever. You still got to hustle. You still got to, but now you're using your brain to think about ways to make more money. Now, the interesting thing about this is that for someone who doesn't have any capital, this can take a long time. And here's what I mean. So imagine person A and person B. Person A, and both of them have amazing recipes for cupcakes. Amazing, they're so delicious. And they make really good lemon cake, lemon icing cupcakes, which is my favorite kind of cupcake, by the way. And they're so, so good. But person A, she has bad credit. And her family and friends, they don't really have a lot of money that they really don't have a lot of money. They don't have any money they can really lend her or give to her or invest in her business. So she works her 9 to 5 and she puts money to the side and she gets started. And it takes her 5 to 7 years to get from scenario 1 to scenario 5. Slight increments, slow growth, being smart, being conservative, putting money to the side, not really traveling, not doing extra stuff, just grinding it out. But eventually she gets there. That's person A. And there's nothing wrong with that. Person B, she has great credit. She has family and friends who have money. And so before she even starts, and she uses some of that money to get a business consultant to help her write a business plan. And she uses some of that money to buy some equipment. And she uses some of that money to look for various locations where she can open up her shop. She's not going to start off in a shared kitchen. And she goes to the bank with her business plan and her cash flow projections that her consultant helped her put together, and the money that she already has in the bank saved up that her parents gave her, and the money that she put to the side from her work that she did, and her good credit score. And she goes to the bank with her plan, and they say yes, and they cut her a check. And based on her cash flow, she has done she figured out, okay, for me to get to scenario 5, to have 9 team members and me to be able just to be the boss, I need $200,000. And they cut her a check and she gets it. So on day 2, she goes from idea to scenario 5. So her first 5 years are at the revenue level of what scenario 5 is making. It's at the freedom level. And it's compounded by the fact that she has free time to think about how to make more money. Versus the person who those first 5 years was just grinding it out because they didn't have access to capital. I want you to think about that. If you only use the money you have in your pocket, you're limited to the money in your pocket. If you have good credit, really no limit on what you can do. And because she had some collateral, because she had she already had purchased certain equipment, made her even more attractive to lenders and possibly investors. So I want you to think about now, whatever scenario you choose, and given, we've all been in business for a while already. So, but I want you to think about the value of working on your credit scores, starting to fix them up, including in your payment, in your expenses, paying off your debts, and paying attention to your balances and your ratios of your debt to income, because that will allow you to skip one of these steps, go right to the level of business you want to be at so you can make more money. But you've got, so it's a combination of planning, paying attention to your expenses, and leveraging your access to capital to really get to what you want. But let me talk about your expenses. This is something that we don't really talk about a lot. Like, you hear it in the news. We don't really talk about this a lot. I want you to start to think about this is real, because I think most of us are over 30, over 40, some of us 50, 60. Inflation is real. So what this is, I got this off of statista.com. I go there sometimes. They have great stats, and they do a good job of putting some of these things together. So I pulled it from there. This is inflation by year. So what is inflation? You hear about it, but it's in the simplest sense. Let's say this year you go to buy some shoes and they cost $100. And they're really great shoes. Like, they're your favorite shoes. You wear them every day. You wear them out to the point that next year you're like, oh man, these shoes are great. I'm gonna go get some more of these. Go back to the same store. Last year they were $100. This year they're $105. Wait a second, what? How is it going? What? And the thing is, you don't understand why. It's the same shoe, same exact shoe. But maybe it went up because maybe the price of their labor went up, or maybe the price of the rubber in the sole, or maybe the leather price of getting leather went up. Maybe the shoelaces are more expensive. It's harder to get. Maybe the cost of doing business went up for them because their interest rates went up in order to get capital. So they had to pass it on to the customer. That's you. Whatever the force in the economy that caused your shoes to be more expensive, it affects you directly. That means that your dollar is not as powerful as it was last year. Doesn't buy as much. You can't buy that shoe. It's like you paid $100 for that shoe. That same $100 won't buy that shoe this year. That's inflation. And the crazy thing is, inflation usually goes up about 2 to 3% per year. So when I talk about your pricing, it's fine to think about your pricing based on your expenses this year. That's fine. But I'm telling you, you've got to really think about raising your prices every single year. That should be standard operating procedure. because all of your expenses are going up. All of them are going up. And think about this, we're all at different points. Some of us want to retire in 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, whatever. If the price of things goes up every 2 to 3 years, let's say you want to retire in 10 years. That shoe that you paid for $100 for, so you can wear it every day, it won't cost $100 anymore. It'll cost $120, $130 by the time you retire. So that means if your business is a part of your retirement plan, you have to start planning now how you can have enough money to cover your expenses in 10, 20, 30 years. That's how real this is. And it may be scary, it may be, whatever. I just want to wake you up to it, because if you're not thinking like this, and if you just keep prices the same, whether it's this year, next year, or 20 years from now, you will go out of business. You'll lose money to the place where you can't afford to do business anymore. And you can't afford to pay your mortgage anymore. You can't afford to send your kids, like if you have young kids, 20 years from now, when the time to go to school, see, I'm about to stroke this check for my son to go to high school, go to a nice high school. And after that, 4 years from now, a nice college. I have to make enough money, because whatever college costs now, it's going to cost probably a lot more in 4 years. Everything goes up, and so your prices should too. So I want you to think about that. Today's price is not yesterday or tomorrow's price. You must raise prices and monitor expenses each year. I'm going to copy and paste this and put this in the chat. So I teach this at Hopkins, and the students there, they call this the Holmes method. But in business school, from what they tell me, this is also a break-even analysis. I thought I made it up myself, but they told me this is something they teach in business school. So these steps, this is really to help you to figure out your pricing. Now, this is not perfect. Everybody's business is different, okay? But this helps you to get your mind around your pricing. So here's what I mean. Here's where I want you to start. For years, I think, and quite often people will say, well, what's your revenue goal? How much money do you want to make this year? I don't really care. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how much you make. It's how much you keep. I have a friend, we've been friends a while. She has a trucking business. And we make around the same. I think she actually makes a little bit more than me. I think actually now that she got more trucks. I think she actually is generating more total revenue now. But her profit margins are like 12, 13%. Mine are 50%. I work from home. All my consultants work from home. That was even before the pandemic. We may show up a couple times at a client's location to show up. Most of my expenses are just paying smart people to talk. So if we make the same amount of money, but I keep half, my business is more profitable. That's really what matters. It doesn't even matter how much. Even if I made, let's say we both do $1 million, and she takes home $120,000, and I make $1 million. Let's say I make $750,000, and then I take home $350,000. So it doesn't matter. I got more money. So I say that to you because it doesn't, obviously you have to make money to cover expenses. But what I'm talking about is you planning the rest of your life. And I want you to really think about your profit goal. So let's do this, right? Let's say your profit goal, I say, hey, Tammy, what's your profit goal? You're like, well, what does that mean? I say, I want to know how much you want to take home each year. Now, this is not including your salary. Well, why is that? Remember this chart right here? This, where you're free, not in the day-to-day, that work you were doing before, guess who's doing it now? These people. So that money that, maybe you weren't even paying yourself in scenario 2, 3, 4, whatever. Scenario 5, you got to pay somebody to do that work so you can be free. The work doesn't go away. So you've got to, in your pricing, already have that work covered, paying someone to do the work. Maybe it's the general manager or whatever it is, whoever it is, someone's got to do that work. So your salary, whatever, that's an expense of the business, just like any other employee. This is the money on top of that, left over after paying all the expenses. So let's say Tammy, you say it's $120,000. You want to just have that free and clear out of your business every year. So I said, okay, so divide by 12, that's $10,000 a month. All right. So $10,000 a month. I'll write it down so I don't forget. So $10,000 a month is profit. Then I want you to add up all your expenses for the month. And let's just say for easy numbers, because I'm just a simple man, let's say your expenses are $5,000 currently right now per month. Okay. So the $10,000 a month, that's your profit goal for the month. Your expenses for the month, you know it's $5,000. I still want you to think, actually, let's say it's 4,500 or whatever, but let's say you considered inflation, the state of the economy, so you bump it up a little bit, so let's make it a cool $5,000. You add in step 3, you add your monthly profit goal to your monthly expenses. This will give you your monthly revenue target. This is basically how much you got to sell every single month. So 10,000 and 5,000 is 15,000. Okay. So you got to sell $15,000 worth of stuff so you can bring home $10,000 a year in profit and cover your expenses. I'm sorry, $15,000 a month you have to sell so you can cover your $10,000 a month in profit and your $5,000 a month in expenses. Make sure I said that right. Number 4, now this is where it starts to get a little complicated, right? Because we all sell different things. So I want you just to really think about, and you may sell hamburgers that are $5 and sell packages, catering packages that are $200. All right. What this is really supposed to do is just give you an idea of the effort involved in making your money. So I want you to look at the average price of your products or services, whatever it is. So if some of them are 5 and some of them are 105, we'll say that 50 is the average price of your products. Okay, and that number will vary based on whatever you sell. All right. You want to divide that total revenue goal, that 15,000 divided by 50. Now will give you your initial sales goal. So Alexa's going to help me out. Alexa, what is 15,000 divided by 50?
15,000 divided by 50 is 300.
That's 300. That means you got to sell about 300 things, whatever those things are, at $50 a pop to make the amount of money you want to make. Okay, really simple, high level, right? Now, why are we even doing this, right? Because this is going to help you to think about, is this possible? Because maybe right now you don't sell 300 things. Maybe you sell 150 things. So if you're going to sell more things, that means probably your expenses are going to have to jump up from 5,000, maybe to 6,000 or 7,000 to cover more marketing or personnel, whatever it is. So you got to start to play with that expense number, go back through this process and then figure out, okay, my expenses had to jump up to 6, let's say 6,000 or 7,000. So I still want to do my $10,000 a month in profit. So now I've got to do 17,000 in sales at 50 bucks per, or maybe you're just like, hey, you know what? I can just raise my price. So I don't have to sell as much stuff. So there's ways you can play with it, either by increasing your price or by maybe more technology, becoming more efficient, whatever it is. And also maybe if you need more people, maybe you need a bigger space, you're gonna have to play with this number, but what it's gonna do is help you to figure out where you should be in your pricing. And what's crazy is, depending on what you sell, and then because later on I'll ask you, okay, well, how much do you charge for things? What's the average you actually charge in real life? And you're gonna say, well, my average price I charge for everything is like $30, $35. So you should be charging at least 50 on average, and you're charging 35. That's probably a red flag that you're losing money. Now, this is not perfect, doesn't work every single time, but it works like 95% of the time. So I want you to use this and think about it and help you to start to think about your pricing. And especially, I really want you to start to really think about next year's price and the price of things for when you retire. Oh, and using the cupcake analogy again, just to explain what this is. So remember we were charging $3.49, that really just covered the cost of the ingredients and the cost to make some more cupcakes tomorrow. But once you raise your price to $3.99, you had enough space to add in profit, savings, investments, retirement, and your salary. And just to kind of put a finer point on it, are you charging enough? So now you know, like, maybe we're around where your average cost of things should be. So I really want you to really take a look at this and say, okay, look, does my price include labor? And labor costs are going up. People are asking for more money because they feel like it's competitive. They can work anywhere, at least for now. Marketing, utilities, gas went up. So if you have a truck, you're spending more on that. Is there enough space, enough margin in what you're selling and what you're charging your customer to cover the price of all these things going up next year? If you have long-term contracts, did you consider this in your pricing and this goes into next year? What if we go into a recession? Recruiting and training, reinvesting in the business, paying yourself, your profit, your savings. And then back on inflation, you must price appropriately and invest wisely to outpace inflation. If inflation is rising, and I think on average it's about 2 to 3% per year. We saw it go up as high as 8%, I think, this year, or at least 7%. And then if you have your money just sitting in the bank, earning 0.01% or something like that, and the value of money actually decreases every year, 2 to 3, 4%, right? So that means if you just have money sitting in the bank, just sitting there, you're losing money. And if inflation is at, let's say on average 3, 4%, you have to have investments that are making more for you than 3 or 4%. Otherwise, you're losing money. So your customers should be paying for that and whatever you charge them. You have to constantly assess the needs in the market. So here's B2C, B2B, B2G. B2C is business to customer. B2B is you're selling to other businesses. B2G, you're selling to the government. We're going to talk about selling to the government actually next week. But here's some things I want you to think about. All right, when you're selling to the customer, let's say it's your restaurant or your fitness center, why do they come in? Why are they paying you? Right? They usually have, a lot of them have immediate needs. Maybe they went to the doctor and they say they have to eat differently or work out more. Right? Maybe they need rehab. Or maybe they're just tired of being unhealthy. What's their time frame? What's their budget? The ease of the interaction. Are you making it easy for them to buy food from you or to come to your place? What's the size of the market? And you can go to census.gov and get an idea. Once you know the demographics, you can figure out, okay, around La Plata, there are, let's say I market to Caucasian women ages 40 to 70. And you realize there are like 200,000 of them in La Plata. So if that's your target market, you're like, okay, well, if I get 1% or 2% or 3% of that market share, a very conservative market share, and based on what I need to sell, I'll make enough money. Okay, but you need to know that. What kind of timing do you have to have? Maybe they're not buying your stuff. Maybe they don't want to work out when it's cold or around Christmas or the holidays. They want to work out when they're trying to get their bodies right to go to the beach. So what are you going to do when they're not coming to see you? Well, what are you going to sell? What are you going to sell them? It's cheaper to get a customer to buy more stuff than to get a brand new customer. What kind of abilities and products you have like right now in real life that you can actually sell? What is your real profit potential? And it varies based on the person, because like think about it, right? If it comes down to cooking, I can really only make like one thing like that tastes good every time. That's mashed potatoes. Everything else is hit or miss with me. I don't know why. I even follow directions. I'm just not a great cook. So if I try and open up a restaurant and cook some food, I'll probably go out of business. People are like, oh, this is nasty, right? Same business plan, same business model. Someone else comes in and they make great food, right? And it tastes amazing. They're going to do well. So it's not just the business model, it's you. You're a huge part. Your infrastructure, who do you have helping you? You can't do it by yourself, not long term. Can't make any money like that. You're limited to your own fatigue levels and your capabilities and your 40 or 60 hours a week. You're not duplicating yourself. You're not duplicating your efforts. It's just you. Business to business. What are their immediate needs? What's their time frame? What's their project budget? Usually they have a budget for things. They create a budget. Maybe there's a fiscal year where they say, okay, maybe in October we create our budget for everything starting January 1st. That means you got to start marketing to them in the summer and the spring. So they use RFPs, requests for proposals. Or maybe they just, whatever you sell, they can just go to your website and buy it. Maybe they just, they're selling staples. They need staples every month. What are their payment terms? So this is important. When you start selling to bigger organizations, usually payment terms start to get a little longer. They're not usually like not just buying things right off, like right that same day, often. Because the bigger the organization, more people have to sign off. It's checks and balances. Or maybe they get it from you, they sell it to their customer, that money comes in and they use that money to pay you. What's your profit margin when you sell to a business versus selling to a customer? Maybe they buy in bulk. And it's funny, I think I might have mentioned this before. I teach this, I say the same thing every time, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. Like I see on social media, like small businesses will say, oh, no discounts, or know your worth, and that kind of thing, right? And yes, I agree with that. But wholesale and retail, right? If you know your numbers, and you know on every cupcake you make $2, if you sell it for, let's say $5, and let's say the expenses are $3, just simple numbers, right? And you sell it to a individual person, you make $2 on that person. You sell it to a restaurant, you'll say, well, look, I want 100 of them, but I don't want to pay normal pricing. I don't want to pay $5. I'll pay $4, because you know that you have all of your expenses accounted for, and okay, well, if I sell it for $4, then I'll only make $1 per, so you make $100, as opposed to $1, or as opposed to $2. Right? Would you rather, it's called wholesale if they're buying in bulk, right? Now you can, individual people, that's up to you. If you want to, haggle a price, get down to $1.50. The thing is, it doesn't matter because you're making money. Think about it. So business to government, different, entirely different. Like I said, we're going to get into this next week, but their acquisitions forecast. So if you want to work with a government agency, quick way to start is Google forecast for that agency, the agency's name. And in most cases, you'll be able to find something on their website or a PDF that's out there on the internet that says in 2022, we're going to be buying these things. If they get signed up and get your certification, so you can go after contract opportunities. And federal and state, it's not just the federal government, there's every state plus every county and city buys things. Don't limit yourself. But they have budgets, and you need to understand what they're actually buying in that year, what's important to them, to understand their proposal process, the contract size and the terms, fiscal year, like we said with the businesses. You market to them maybe in the spring and summer, you get in there, you get in the budget for by the fall, and then in that next year, maybe they can buy something from you. Or what they do is that they'll maybe post the formal bids. Let's say I think 25,000 or higher. Anything above that, they have to post that by law or by regulation. Anything under that, they can actually do a credit card payment for that, depending on the agency. So you get with a credit card holder, you can actually get paid that way. But we'll talk more about that next week, but just things you have to know so you can understand the needs in the market and how to get paid. You find a need, you fill a need, you get paid. All right. Now, all these other, I mean, all these things are important, but now let's talk a little bit more about the people, right? Because you've got to manage your people and you've got to communicate to them how important they are and what you're trying to do. Because now that you have your budget, you've got your pricing, you understand how much you have to charge, you understand you've done your cash flow projections, you know your sales goals. Guess what you can do? You can say, okay, well, this year for me to hit my sales goals, I have to sell 1,200 things this year. That means each month I've got to sell 100 things. And I've got 5 salespeople. And that means they all have to sell at least 20 things for us to just to hit our goal. So I'm not going to give them a 20 goal. I'm going to give them a 25 goal because I know they're going to be late. I know they're going to miss days. I know they're going to be sick, going to have excuses. I'm going to have to fire some people, rehire some people. So I figure based on all that, if I give them all a 25 a month goal, they'll probably still come out like maybe 21, 22, and we'll hit all our goals for the year. But it all wraps up individual goals, departmental goals, company goals. But you set the goals. Your key metrics, think about this, right? So once you have your sales goals for the year, your revenue goals for the year, your profit goals for the year, you have to measure it, pay attention to it. So for example, if you know, okay, well, this year I did 100,000 in revenue and my marketing expenses to generate that many sales, let's say my marketing expense was $10,000, but I want to do $1 million in sales 10 times, maybe that means my marketing needs to be $100,000 to do that. Because if you know how much it costs to make your sales, you know what it costs to grow. So you have to start tracking these things and paying attention so you can plan ahead. You should know what's your cost per lead. You should know the sources of where your leads come from. You should know how many leads it takes to make a sale. That's the conversion rate. And if you're getting a 20% conversion rate, that's not bad. That's not bad. The better you should look at that, because the thing is, if like right now, because of the way I market, and most of my marketing comes from word of mouth or referrals or some other way of getting a contract. When I talk to people, usually I'm right around 75%. Because what I do, like the thing I do, nobody else is really doing it, not the way I do it, right? I've been doing it for 15, 16 years. I'm in everybody's face constantly see what I'm doing. So they know what I do. And I have lots of happy customers who are big clients. So it's not as hard for me to convince people. And that's on purpose. Plus all these awards behind me, I have an award strategy. I'm given, I do have a heart for helping people. Believe me, it's so hard to do it. I couldn't do it if I was faking it. It's hard and it's expensive and very time consuming, but I'm also strategic about it. If I do at a big event that's free, like we do an event called Money Baltimore, haven't done it since the pandemic, like 300 people come, the mayor comes, but guess what? It's like if you Google it, Money Baltimore, it's a video, the mayor of Baltimore at that time giving me an award. It's up there on the wall. And we had like 250 people come. This was a while ago. It's been a while since we did it. But that's, when I invited her to come and talk, I said, well, look, we're going to give you an award. Will you give us one? Goes up on the wall. So now when I talk to you guys, and I've got all these awards from governors and mayors and senators and things like that, I had to ask for those. They didn't say, oh, well, we're going to give you an award, not one. Well, maybe like one or two. But usually I had to ask for them, like, well, look, hey, you come give us an award. And they say, okay. Because that adds to my credibility and that adds to the strength of my brand. But that's on purpose. So all those things, I want you to think about these things as you think about how you're going to market, how you're going to grow your business, how you're going to scale your business, the cost of every single thing you do, because everything costs money that you want to do. And I definitely want you to think about inflation, because prices are creeping up every day. And if your prices to your customer are going up too, it's going to be a problem for you. Because they'll go somewhere else and get a sandwich and pay the right price. But if you don't raise your prices, you won't be able to pay your people and you'll go out of business. So but in regard to your people, you have to create win-win relationships. You have to understand, just like you do with your customers, what's in it for them. You got to think about what's in it for these people you work with. So what do your employees want? What's in it for them? They want a paycheck, right? Employees think, well, they may think whatever about their boss, right? But employees don't want to live like this, like we live, all crazy, waiting to get paid. This is crazy. Like, this isn't even like logically makes sense, but we have freedom, right? They'd rather trade the freedom for security. And that's fair. I think it's like 98% of people are employees. Maybe the number's gone down a little bit since COVID. I don't know. More people seem to have their own businesses. But let's say 97% of people work for us. They don't want to live this life. So they rely on you to give them job security. But they rely on you to help them with their personal growth or professional growth. Income growth, which means you got to plan to charge a customer more. Because if your customer's not paying for these things, guess who's paying for it? You, your family, your kids, all the things you can't do because you don't have enough money. Also, what do your employees want? They want some type of work environment. Maybe they want to work from home. Maybe they want more flexibility, maybe whatever. But the thing is, I've talked to some of you this week, you're trying to hold on to people who may not want to be there. And that's very difficult. They feel like they can go anywhere. So as the boss, it's up to you to figure out what can we do here to get people to stay. Or if the way your business works is that they have a churn, I would want you to look at what's the average amount of time a person stays. If that is 3 months at your restaurant, so that means you got to have a constant recruitment cycle. If every 2 months you're bringing in a new squad, training a new training squad every 2 months, it's part of your business. Some things just are how they are. Like I can't change them. Believe me, I try and change anything. I try and have an influence on everything. And there's just some things that unfortunately even I can't change. I have to accept that sometimes. But it's the same for you, sadly. So, but you have to just make the adjustment in how you do business so you can account for that. So that means in your budget, maybe you're paying a recruiter, or maybe you have some kind of relationship with a school, or maybe it's not even like it's not just straight up business. Maybe you are volunteering your time and building a relationship somewhere that shows that you are a good person and therefore they want to work with you. Back to the thing I told you, I really want you all to be beacons in your industry where like people are attracted to you. They want to work for you. And it's a big deal, and it's not easy. It's not easy bringing them on. It's not easy keeping them. It's not easy attracting them. But if you make it, I would say try and make it on purpose. Where people are attracted to you, I can tell you, that's really my business model. That's my marketing strategy. Attract people to me. It's cheaper than paying for a lot of Facebook ads and things like that. But it's very time consuming and it's very tiring. But it works. So think about that. Think about what else your employees might want, and also ask them what they want. Why do they want to work with you? What do they like it? Why do they like it here? What do they want? And here's another thing too, right? Have you ever walked in a neighborhood and you come to let's say it's a neighborhood where there are houses and they have grass lawns, right? And you come to the corner and it's a nicely manicured lawn right at the corner, but you see a dirt path that people have been cutting across that corner and just cutting that corner and walking across it. Even though there's a nice concrete sidewalk that they should be walking on, right? The average person is going to cut that corner. So, we do technology here. And one thing I always say to folks is it doesn't matter what you think they should do. What matters is what they really do in real life. So I could be upset that they are cutting across the corner, or I could maybe create a solution where maybe I put a little path that cuts across. so it doesn't destroy my grass. And I put pavers there. It's a compromise and maybe what I may want or what I think they should do, but it deals with the reality of how people are. So when you think about your business and retaining people, people steal. Not everybody, but they steal. People do little shady things that blow your, like, how could they do this? How could they betray me? It's real. So what do? You put in metrics, you put in measurements, you put in cameras, you do things, you have training programs. Maybe you have a different place where you find people. Or maybe you bake in things where, hey, you know what? You can make money too doing these certain things. Here's how you can make money, and you put in your budget, maybe some incentives or things like that, so that they can make money and you make money too. It's a win-win. Next, your partners. What do they want? Maybe your partner is your husband. Maybe your partner is, some investors. Maybe your partner is some association or whatever, or people you work with, or people who send you leads, or whatever the case is. What do they want? If you don't know, you need to talk to them, take them to lunch, ask them. Usually they want some kind of return on investment. It may be money. If it's an investor, they may want 5 times or 10 times what they put in. They may want it in 3, 5, 7 years. Maybe they just want to be associated with your brand. Maybe it's so strong. That's a big part of what they like. You bring that attention to them. Or maybe you generate a lot of leads, which keeps them busy as for whatever they provide for the organization. You bring in the money, that keeps them busy, and they can get paid. They may want mutual growth. Maybe they want influence in your business. If they're putting in money, maybe they want to sit at the table. We have to think about it. And of course, think about if that's something you're willing to do. Is it worth it? Let me say this, right? I'm going to say this to you because I'm even astounded by it. We started a whole lending institution with no debt. Baltimore Economic Leadership League has not a whole lot of money, $25,000 to lend people. And we came up with a smart way to do it without having to ask anybody to lend us any money. It was hustle, hustle, grind, grind, but we got people to become members and sponsors that believe in the mission. And now we got $25,000 of that. We are unbought and unbossed. So yeah, I guess I could have gone into debt and asked people, but then they would have had a say. But we can choose now how we run the business. We can choose now who we lend money to. We make the rules. So I say that to you to say, not to brag, even though I can be braggadocious at times and quite proud of what I do. That's not the purpose of this at this moment. The purpose of saying that is that you will have people, especially as you get bigger and better and brighter and all that stuff, and people are attracted to you, they're going to start to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I can help you out. Think about it, they're coming to you. Most people want something. So if you are, please, before you give away a portion of your business to somebody, I want you to really evaluate the cost of just paying somebody to do it. Maybe you go into debt personally, or maybe you do the work, or maybe you grind it out, and maybe it takes you longer. Remember that back to scenario 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? See, the difference is, now given scenario, remember person A didn't have any money, but she grinded it out. But at the end of that 5, 7 years, she owns all this stuff. Scenario B, that person, she jumped right to it and she made more money, but she's leveraging debt, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but she owes that bank or she owes those investors. Maybe her dad now is a partner. Whatever it is, you have to decide what's more important to you. That's really your call. But before you give away your business, I really want you to think about you're giving away your freedom, you're giving away your influence, you're giving away your say, you're giving away your ability to direct your destiny 100%. That's your call though, and it's not a bad thing. Leveraging debt isn't bad. Because if your main thing is, look, I just want to have a whole lot of money, I mean, think about it. And let me talk about debt and credit just real quick. Credit, if you have credit lines and you're not maxing them out, that's not a bad thing. You have credit. You have open lines of credit. That's a good thing. Your credit score is going to be high. When you max them out, that's debt. And that still may not be a bad thing, right? So think about it, right? If you bought a property and you got a mortgage on it, that's debt. And then you rent it out. Let's say the mortgage is $600 a month. You rent it out. Let's say it's a duplex or whatever, and you charge your renters $1,000 each. So you got two of them. So you bring home $2,000. And let's say you pay $600 for your mortgage, and then let's say it's like another, let's say $500 in other expenses or whatever. So 2,000 minus 1,100 is what, $900 in profit. So you're leveraging debt. So is debt bad? You still made your $900. So debt doesn't have to be bad. It's just how you manage it. People having influence on your business doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It doesn't have to be forever. It depends on how you manage it, how you negotiate it. So I want you to think about it. That's why I spent a little time on this. I want you to really think about it. As you get bigger and brighter and better, people will want a piece. And do you want them to have ownership in your business? 1099s. What do they want? Let me tell you, I'm a 1099. I just want to get paid. Just pay me. Pay me on time. You pay me on time, my life is so much easier. I can pay my people. I don't have to go and borrow money. I don't have to go into my credit line. I don't have to get a loan. Just pay me on time. So that your accounts payable, you need to be paying attention to that. Make sure you're paying your folks on time. The vice versa, or the opposite of that is your accounts receivable. You're letting these invoices linger. Let me tell you, it's worth just that. Have an admin person spend an hour or two a week doing your accounts receivable, writing your invoices so you can get paid, and following up on them. Often people just hold on to their payments because you're not following up with them. I remember one guy, I met him. I didn't work with him. I met him, and he was introducing me as someone I should know and all that kind of stuff. But I went to go see him at his office. I'm sitting there, and I saw all the rest of his office was super neat. But on this one thing, he had this bin that had all these like letters in it. It was all messy and stuff, and it said like late, unpaid, whatever. I was like, so we're talking. He's talking about doing business. I'm like, that's obviously a red flag to me. I'm like, well, wait a second. What are all these bills? And he says, oh, well, the thing, that's one ways I make money. I said, what? I said, well, do you sell the debt? He says, no. These are people who I owe money to. And eventually they stop asking for it. I was like, I don't even want to be associated with a person like that. But that's a common thing. That's a part of people's budget. They plan to not pay people, or they know that you need the money. So what do? You owe them $10,000. They'll say, oh, well, look, I'm not 10. I'll give you 8 today. Like a settlement. So think about that. And if you may want to invest in having a person follow up on your accounts receivable so that you can get that money in quickly, so you can have better cash flow, so you can pay your vendors. You can call it karma, or you can call it good business management, whatever you want to call it. But paying people on time and getting paid on time is good business. What else do 1099s want besides getting paid on time? They want future contracts. How can you leverage the possibility of working in the future? And then your customers, what do they want? They want their pain points addressed. They want trust. They want communication. They want service. They want reliability. They want consistency. They want quality. They want affordability. But what else do they want? If you don't know, you should be talking to them. And what else can you offer them to make them buy more stuff and stay longer? If you do your statistics and you realize the average customer only buys once or only stays with you 3 months, how can you get them to 4 months? How can you get them to buy twice? How can you get them to bring a friend? It's cheaper to get your customers to buy more stuff, your existing customers, than trying to find a new one. And you definitely don't want to be losing customers, because then they'll go and they'll tell everybody, oh, don't ever go there again. You got to be clear with everybody on your squad. and not just your employees, but your customers, how important they are to you, your contractors, how important they are and where they fit into the grand plan, your partners, what's in it for them, how important they are, and your employees, of course, remind them every day of how important it is that they play a part in the growth of the business. And all these things matter because it all really helps you to figure out how do you want to finish.